Chris, what's been going on, man?
Man, we've been busy.
It's been a hot minute since we've been in this seat, hasn't it?
It has. We need to look. We apologize. We've been too busy spraying army worms and food plots,
look. The best way to find out,
trying to sell land.
the best way if you get in the podcast business, the best way to find out if you got any listeners is don't do one for a while, and everybody run into that. It pumps you up. It makes you feel good that many people listen. But I've had more people ask me about, what, y'all quit? Have you done another?
Well,
it's good to be back.
It is. It's good to be back. It's a busy time of year, especially. We say that every time, but it's kind of the boys of fall, and I ain't talking about basketball or football. I'm talking about deer.
Yeah, food plot season. We talk about there all that nostalgia around food plot season, Friday Night Light. We always make those comparisons, the similarities. There's a lot of really good things about this time of year, and it's just busy because I've been busy. Real estate's picked up some. Interest rates are down a little bit, and people are out looking and buying money. We sold one of your tracks this month.
I think some people are really, really looking at, getting tired of maybe the hunting club type stuff.
Yeah,
and starting to
see more interest in recreational tracks. That's right. Yep. But you're busy this time of year too, planting. You do a lot of planting, not just on your own places, but for other people.
I do. I bought a drill 5-6 years ago, and I said, you know what, I couldn't wrap my mind around spending that much money on an implement. But I said, you know what, if I'll get me 3 people that, bigger landowners I could plant for, I could offset it. And, man, what you talking about? I could run 2 of them, I think. But it's been a busy time.
Checking your mic. I couldn't tell if you're on or not.
It's loud right now.
Is it loud on you now?
I feel like I'm in a Elton John concert. But
all right. See, that's what happens when you're away for a little while.
That's it, man. Little kinks out there.
Yep. But I was turning up your earpiece instead of your mic. That's why I was getting loud on you and not me.
Right. But it's the heat, man. The heat on me. But looking at food plots now, and we're in the middle of October. But we ain't had rain in 2 or 3 weeks. We're in a drought.
We ain't had much. And then it was just a little bit of rain.
Southeast, we're talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia.
It's such a difference, such a stark difference because we're dry. So if it's mid-October, if you guys are watching, if you're plugged into what's going on, there's disaster and flooding with the hurricanes in Tennessee and North Carolina. So, hearts go out to those people. But
there's no question.
If you didn't get some of that tropical system, we're sitting here in a big deficit. We're dry.
Oh, we're bad dry. We've been on 2 burn bans, and we like to and a lot of these tracks, and I know people's out there listening, according to what kind of grass you got. So if you've got that thick crabgrass, I don't care how many times you disc it, spray it, it's thick. Mm-hmm. So the best way to do is burn it off. So all of our listeners that have these pine plantations, it ain't nothing worse than getting a fire out in a pine plantation in the middle of summertime, 100 degrees, and trying to fight it. Mm-hmm. And so it just ain't worth it. And now they got these burn bans on, and they've been really, really strict about burning. And when Deputy Sheriff comes and writes you a $500 ticket,
that'll discourage you.
Yeah, used to you could say, hey, man, ain't no big, I didn't know it, but it's hard to get out of them now that just so much destruction. One jump out, one time you burn 3 houses down in a trailer. It's I have burned a barn down before, but it was an old one, so it didn't mean as much. But things can happen. It's just dry and wind blowing. But we're dry. We are bad dry, and we're drilling.
It's dry, and that's a challenge with when to plant. You're weighing out things, and I just planted some. I planted a little plot I got on that new lease this past weekend.
That's
There's no rain the 10 day.
No,
but it ain't gonna grow in the bag, so I went ahead and planted.
Several people that we're in a kind of a group with, and we talk and text back and forth, but they haven't planted either because they're waiting on that perfect time. And here's what I tell people in the South: you get to October 15th, ain't no perfect time. You need to get it in the ground.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. But I'm looking right now, 10 days. We had no rain. Mm-mm. It's 10 days, and it's not good. Now, I did take a gamble this year, Brent, and I usually never do it. So the first hurricane, the one that hit North Carolina and tore all that up,
Yeah,
we were going to get a little rain off of it, just a little spawn on it, and
a lot of people planted then.
Well, we all run out there crazy, and I'll tell you the difference in planting, and I want people to kind of think about this. So, my accountant, we just developed a piece of property for him, and we got 7, 8 nice food plots, and we've been disking them all summer. We're getting chunks out of them, put them in cut over. We did several different things, which was pretty cool. We took some fields and we dug them up with track hoe, dug stumps up. So some fields we took and we used a mulcher and mulched the stumps down 3 to 4 inches on the ground. Okay, to try to look at the difference in the money. And then it wasn't a lot.
Notice that's for your accountant. You're getting down that analytical on cost comparison.
Right. But I just wanted to see, because when you're clearing, land in a cutover, that it was an old pine plantation, 30 years old. So right off the bat you got over 250 trees to the acre. Mm-hmm. Because you're on your third stumps, not counting your old stumps. Because you remember now, when we plant pine trees, we plant 600 trees to the acre. We'll thin it one time. We'll take 40% out. Then we'll thin it again, and then we'll clear cut it. So at the ending of that thing, you're going to have between 180 and 250 trees per acre that you've got, not counting your gums.
Yeah.
And everything that's grown up, in that over the 30-year period. So anyway, we took a blank canvas and we laid out stuff on, ridges and just. It was a topography. It was a track, had some roll, had some topography to it. But, I lay them out just like I would in a bottom. A lot of times you want to lay them out in good spots, funnels, drains, SMZs, anything that travel corridors. So we laid these fields out, but you got to think about something now. It's so many sticks and limbs and roots and all that stuff left over at logging / debris. Mm-hmm. You got to burn it. You got to do something with it. So
you got to burn it or pick it up.
That ain't no doubt. And look, with all the technology we have in this world today, there's only one way to get chunks out of a field: by hand.
Sticks, pick up sticks,
and a Ranger or a dump trailer or something. And I mean, we
do. Did y'all plant him early?
We planted him early. So what happened was we went in and I saw the rain forecast. It was 3 to 5 inches of rain. I said, man, that's a lot, but it's kind of sandy. So we went in, had it ready. I broadcast this with a 4-wheeler ATV spreader, big spreader, and come back with clover behind it. And we opt to not cover it because 3 to 5 inches.
And sandy ground.
If you did cover it, you'd put it down there 3 to 5 inches in the dirt.
Yeah.
And so we said, hey, man, if it's just right, it's going to be game on. Okay? So we did his that time. The same time I was at my place, I drilled 3 fields early. I drilled them in August. Whenever that hurricane comes, I think it was August.
I think it was August.
September.
First early September.
Yeah, first September. So I went and drilled mine and then went and broadcast his. So we was still thinking 3 to 5 inches of rain. Well, he only got 3/4 of an inch because that band stayed south. Mm-hmm. Okay, so was it a failure? Yeah, now we got to go back and pack it in. Now because the rain...
rain didn't cover the seed
did not beat it in the ground, man. And it's just... That's the aggravating part. Now, over at Mayhew, right on the money. I planted those fields. They're up. The deer were using... And the reason I planted early, I knew I'd have to take the gamble. And I planted down at the farm, too. So I knew I would take that gamble with army worms. But as I walked in the woods, I've been doing a bunch of hacking, squirting on some stuff in there, making some thickets. And I started noticing there was no browse because of the drought. They didn't have any kind of late stress type food. And I said, look, I'm going to take the gamble to spray them army worms to get them something to eat. So I planted 10 acres early. And come up like $1 million. Everything's early, and I put a bunch of, little shout out for Bobby, I put a bunch of brassicas in it.
Yeah.
And turnips and rape and some kale, I think. Just because now I'd have another month of growth
Yeah, and that's the thing we've talked about before, and Mitt probably spells it out as well. You and Mitt both spell it out as well as anybody. A track like that with that kind of deer density, like if you don't get out ahead of it and get that route established, then you'll be behind. That food plot will never establish and put the tonnage out. So it's like you're gambling. You need to get it out early enough to get that root system. You know you're gambling against army worms.
And
but it's calculated, I guess.
I don't hate them. And so people think, oh, Chris and Mitt, and they may hate brassicas. No, I don't. I don't hate them. They like them. But if you plant late, like now we're planting now, you're throwing money. You're throwing, I mean, it's unless you don't have any deer. I mean, if you don't got any deer, you can plant them. They look like $1 million. But unless you plant them early and they've got a month, because see, a brassica, they like the heat and the extended, and I think and a lot of rain. They don't have to have a lot of rain to get going.
Yeah, we talked about that with Dudley and Bobby last year. It had gotten late, and we were getting a little seed from them. And they were like, "Well, these brassicas, you kind of miss that window. It's a little late," and they'll tell you that too.
And the thing is, they don't like wet feet. But these fields I planted early were upland. They're more ridge top fields. Mm-hmm. So I planted them, and that's one I think we did You did a couple.
We did some social media.
Yeah, and I put some, and I put some cowpeas, and I had some soybeans left over from the summer.
Yeah, you cleaned out the shed.
I cleaned out the shed, and look, man, they have been smoking them down. I mean, they eat them.
But that's a big track with a lot of early succession habitat, y'all. If you followed us social media and on here, you've seen it. We videoed. I've got a lot of drone footage of that track. Right. It's a lot. You burn and spray it, and it's a big. And
I'm gonna tell people these magazine cover food plots that you see, they're planted early. Yeah. Because they got time to grow, and stuff gets high, and then they look great. Now, if you've got high deer density, or if you're in a pine thicket and you got a lease and all you can plant is roadsides, sides of roads. I was on a track today, 800 acres. All they have is roadsides, postage stamp fields, small fields. You can't control. You can only control what you can control. You got to do the best on that. So, I think you got to plant those early. I think because you got to get as much growth as you can from those food plots. But there again, we thought we was going to get 3.5 inches of rain. Now we're going to be redoing 7 acres of food plots.
And this is one of those years.
It's tricky.
Where and I don't know if it's already going that way. This may be a little bit all over the place, this episode, but that's what kind of year it's been. But on a year like this, we talk about supplemental feeding and feeding sometimes and how that's a piece of, all these little things are pieces. And a year like this, when you don't have, look, if you're bow hunting right now, so there are some white oaks dropping. There are
white oaks look good, yeah.
There are white oaks, but that field ain't up yet, and that feeder over there might be your saving grace. And
that bag of corn.
Bag of corn.
I mean, look, we can say it like we want to, but corn, it's down right now. It's so corn delivered to the grain elevator is about $4 a bushel. So we're looking at about 55 pounds in a bushel, something like that on corn. Now, 50-pound bag of corn is still bringing you $9.50, $10. And so it's down. I don't think that middleman.
It's worth it this year.
But look, if that's all you got.
Yeah.
So let me tell y'all a little story about the corn. We'll get into corn. So down at Mayhew, I get most of my corn. I go get it out of the field because I got these big buggies that I bought at some of these sales. Now, look, Brent, tell you, I'm a master at buying junk and then So anyway, I bought me a grain buggies. It hold about 185 to 225 bushels, according to what they look like. If they got good sides on them. So I go into the field and then I buy it from the farmer right out of the field, or I go to their little silos and get it from there. So I had some left over at Mayhew when we was planting these food plots. And I was down there and I had some that had weevils in it. So if anybody don't know what a weevil is, a weevil will get into grain and they'll eat the heart out of the watermelon, if you want to say that. It's a little bitty gnat-looking bugs, and they fly everywhere. But
you get them in your flour at the house.
Yeah, you will. That's right. Yeah. And how they get in there, you just wonder, because the bag will be sealed and you have them in there. So it makes you wonder what we're eating. But anyway, we can go there. That's a whole nother podcast. But so I had weevils. I probably had 75 to 100 bushels still in that buggy that I didn't feed from last year. So I looked at it, and I had about 50 good seed, 50 weevilled up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just couldn't waste it. So I had
weevilled up.
Yeah, so I couldn't. I had to do something with it. So and it had some coon crap in it. It's different. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And so what I decided, I said, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do before I go fill my buggy up. So I went and got a spreader and I brought it down there. Now this 4 season anything I'm trying to get rid of. So I took it and went down my roads, and I haven't fed these deer since last year. Okay, and I feed them out of covered feeders, but I didn't want any bad corn to be in a feeder, so I didn't put it in the feeder. I whirly-birded it out on roads, just all over the whole place.
And it's bad. It wasn't like wet and mildew.
No.
It was good.
It was good. It's dry. I mean, it's under a shed. Yeah. But anyway,
this track doesn't have any turkeys.
No, and no turkeys. So I threw look. I didn't want to. I knew they were stressing, and I knew the deer now. So I go down, and I go through the whole place. So I think that thing holds about 400-something pounds of corn, and so I went all the way down roads, and I was just beam up along, enjoying it, throwing it out. So I turned around after I got empty. I went back and got another load and went down and spread some out. It was getting later in the evening. And when I came back out, now you're talking about a 400-acre tract, okay? So that tells you I didn't stay, I mean, huge. I mean, you just made
didn't take long.
No, maybe
20 minutes.
What? Maybe 3/4 of a mile, I guess, that big road there, Brent. Made some curves in. When I came back, there were 10 different deer that had come out and were in that road eating that corn. I had never seen things. I knew right then
they were stressed.
That they were stressed, they were hurting. And that's just by, like we said, paying attention.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, God, you got to be kidding me. So I went right then, went to the co-op, and I bought 1 pallet of corn, and I come back and I filled every feeder up.
Yeah.
And that's just me investing $500 or $400 and whatever it was.
Yeah.
I knew they were stressed, and I knew that if they were sitting there listening, waiting on me to come out and put some food. I mean, look now. So it's been 365 days since they've been fed, and they were that hungry. So I went and filled every feeder up, and I've kept it. And when I left there, I knew if they were stressed there, because that's
Well, it's been the end of January, February since they were fed anyway.
That's early succession habitat.
Yeah.
But when you don't get
it was drought stress.
Right. When you don't get a lot of rain and when we don't get those, so in Mississippi, July, August, September, 3 inches and down is about the monthly average for those. Okay, rough plus or minus. But if you don't get those 2 or 3 inches rain, those species of plants cannot thrive enough. Those deer are hitting them, and if you got a high density, they're biting them down. I mean, so there's no regrowth.
Yeah.
So then what do they do?
And the thing is about those 3 inches of rain in those months, it's not long, slow rains. Usually, even when you get that, it's an event. It's a ground pounder. So if you miss one, you might have missed your rain for the month.
Ain't no doubt.
So that's kind of how this has been. That's how this drought set up been.
So, and I know people say, oh, it rained on us down here. And it
has.
May have.
It's been spots it did. Yeah, that's right.
But as far as a rain system that come out of the Gulf and come across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, we ain't had them that covered the whole state.
Yep.
So that goes to where we have to, as managers of the wildlife or gamekeepers or whatever you want to call us, we have to say, it's time for us to help them.
Yeah, and we talk all the time about not letting that plate get clean.
No.
So when you in that early succession habitat and the burning, like a drought stresses that.
Yes.
So you could have a gap between early summer.
Yep.
And when you get your soft mass, persimmons, acorns, you get all your soft mass in the fall for that little window. There's a gap in there where a drought can stress them.
Well, and you think about
antler development and fawn, they're nursing fawns too. It's a pretty critical time.
They got to have a lot of calories.
Yep.
And if they don't have calories, think about this, y'all. Remember me telling y'all this. If that fawn buck stresses his first year of life,
he's behind.
He's behind the rest of his life.
I don't have the study to cite that from,
he
but
never catches up. I mean, I've been on tons of deer seminars and some of the smartest guys that know deer, researchers will tell you that. If they stress when they're a baby, they never catch back up. And then so what you're doing, you're carrying an animal 5 years.
That's behind.
That's behind when maybe some protein pellets mixed with some corn could have given him a little bit of a bump. And I mean, it's just one of those
mitigate some of that tough time of the year.
So so when I left there, it made me think my whole strategy of how I was going to feed them because I knew they were stressed. So I went in and went to each one of my farms and I checked what I'd done, Brent. I checked the food sources. So I walked. So one of my farms got peanuts beside it, so I knew I was okay. Down here at the camp, me and Marty Kate come down here and rode. We had soybeans, so that took some cover, which I planted soybeans for them. So I knew I was good, but that one farm has no row crop around it. It has limited water.
Yep, because it's the upland side. It's upland. High and dry.
It's limited water. That's another thing we don't talk about much. But when we were hunting in Wisconsin, water was a big game to kill a big deer.
Water's a big deal for every living creature.
So, there it was. So that's why I planted early. So I planted several of those plots. And I usually don't do it till October. And when you're planting food plots for other people, you want to get theirs done first.
Yeah.
And then
to be right.
That way you don't want to feel like a jackleg. Like, he planted his, didn't plant mine. And we've always been terrified of that late rain.
You're usually running like your tail's on fire at the end of that planting window to get your own stuff done.
In.
Yeah, that's right.
But we planted early, and I knew I was going to gamble with armyworms. So we planted early, and let's fast forward to this last weekend. So I planted my and I'll tell you what the mix I had. I had a 3-way mix, which was wheat, Elbon rye, and oats. That's my base mix. I'm gonna go. That's my go-to. $18 a bag. Okay, that's where wheat's about $11 a bag. Mm-hmm. And so I went to that mix, and then I had some brassicas, and then which was turnips and rape, and then I put some crimson clover in the sandy fields, and my balenza in the
wetter fields.
In the wetter fields. So I just planted 3, and I knew. So I've been watching. No armyworms.
Yeah, they kind of snuck up this year.
It was great. The fields jumped
all of
up.
A sudden.
Yeah, so I got 3/4 of an inch of rain, and I had another little thunder shower. Mm-hmm. So so it made me feel better. These deer had 10 acres of green they could eat until I make my cycle and come back and finish the other 30 acres that I'll plant behind it. I think it's roughly 40 acres that I'm planting down here, something like that. And everything was good until I went to a doctor's place and did a drive-through in his place, and he whips out his phone and he says, "Chris, have you ever seen armyworms like this?" And I looked, and it was armyworms just destroying some millet he had planted. I said, when was that, back in August? He said, "No, that was Saturday." And I couldn't.
Your stomach just turned over.
I couldn't concentrate on his track because I said, "Man, there's no way," because I've never had them down here
that late. Well,
that late.
You ever had here at all?
Never had them here.
Yeah.
I always get them up at Hamilton, but never had them here. And I said, surely not. So I get back to my truck, and I'm running about 85 getting back. It's probably 10 miles between the doctor's place and my place. So when I get here, I run straight into that field, and those old sandy field, one me and Brent's killed turkeys in it for over years. And when I got there to the field, they were 7-8 gobblers.
Just out there eating like mad.
He's mad, and I knew it, and you could see it. So I had been down on a Monday. That was on a Thursday evening, and they had eat an acre up. So that's just been a week ago.
Yeah.
So what I done, I jumped on I got on the phone and called radio and said, "Hey, go by the shop and get that. There's some ravage and some livid. Get both of them."
You were ravaged and livid, wasn't you?
I was, and I'm sitting there waiting. I filled up the water tank on the Ranger, and I put the stuff in it, and I went down there and sprayed them.
Yeah, that's as late as I remember. That's as late as an outbreak or so of armyworms.
Yeah, it's odd, but remember this: armyworms travel on wind currents. So we had 2 of the biggest wind currents.
Yeah.
Was it? What'd you say? Hurricane
Helene, and
then the last one,
yeah.
Milton. So those armyworms travel. So they'll come out of South America, everywhere else, Mexico, and they travel, come right up top. And I mean, So I picked the phone up. I started calling all of my buddies that I knew
that planted, everybody that planted
because
early.
I didn't want to be sitting there at the golf course or at the beer joint or watching, at the
places you never go.
Yeah, at the football game and then there, go back down to the camp, the place to eat up.
Yeah.
So then I called the co-op to let Jeff know, hey, Jeff, let people know armyworms. He said, Chris, I just sprayed 2 of the high school football fields.
Yeah.
Got armyworms in them. So, I mean, that's late. That's
they love Bermuda.
Year. Oh, they love it. But they like wheat and stuff too. And I'm telling you, they eat that one particular one. He ate the wheat, the oats, the rye, the little clover that come up, and they eat the brassicas.
Little bastard.
Yeah, it got us, boy. I was like, and they were different sizes. I mean, they were some of them
the different ages, the different growths.
They were different. That's right. So you had the big
we caught
ones.
them at Hamilton on the duck pond.
The
They were
fry.
all fairly young.
Yeah,
they were
all
smallish.
Young. And I mean, we've sprayed it 3 times this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. You treat them, they get in them. I don't feel like you kill every one of them when you spray them, but they destroyed that millet up at that duck pond this year. I mean, it's been a crazy year, and I think everybody in the southeast has said the same things that I've been reading. Hey, armyworms, and I was telling landowners, I was calling my clients, don't just ride by and look.
Yeah, walk out.
Get on your feet because you'll see them. I mean, they're moving, but anyway, we got them going. But I caught it. I stopped them there, and then now I'm back down here a month later.
Yeah,
planting the rest of the fields, and we're planting active right now. We're down here planting today.
So all that to say, when it comes to food plots and what deer are eating right now this time of year, so the food plot was a challenge. If you got a few of them in early and you beat the armyworms, you got a little food.
You got some food.
Your money ahead.
If
you're waiting,
to eat.
then you're still waiting, and you don't have anything other than if you happen to have some hardwoods. I bow hunted on some white oaks. I found a few white oaks dropping.
Yeah.
And deer on them. I got a camera on white oaks on that. Actually, it's not a spot I'm hunting. I got a camera on a white oak on a listing I got, and they are killing it.
Yeah. And you think about your white oak families. I'll go through people that don't know them. So your swamp chestnuts are your big ones that you see in the swamps. You got your northern white oak, which are the pretty good size ones. You got the big ones,
oblong,
and the leaves are a little bit narrow. The big swamp white oaks, their leaves are kind of more of a big heart. Shaped, big leaf and more of a medallion than a heart.
Yeah, it's like a big variegated.
Yeah, that's right.
Looking.
But anyway, the acorns will tell itself. The big acorns are them. So even the post oak and the durant, which are swamp post oak, the little bitty white oaks are dropping.
I've seen a lot of little reds dropping too. So right around this white oak, there's a red dropping too.
So all 3 is good that they're dropping. But you don't hang up much on oaks.
What about the sawtooth? That's interesting. I've talked to several
it's a weird
people.
thing. Sawtooths are not native of the United States. They brought them in from Japan, and I guess in Asia.
Yeah.
So they're a fast-growing tree. People don't know what a sawtooth is, but a lot of our friends, the Hollises, they got tons of them. They planted them back in the 80s. So, I mean, they got some that big around and just rain. My neighbor right here across the tracks, they've got them that rain it.
Early. That's an early drop. That's a good thing about
September,
sawtooth is they drop a lot of acorns and they drop them early.
Well, guess what? 0.
Yep.
They don't have any on them.
Nobody I've talked to.
I think, and I would have to look back, but I think that's going to be a frost kill of the blooms.
Well, it had to be something because it's so widespread.
Yeah, because
there's something that's not necessarily regional.
You think about you take any kind of a species that blooms early, okay? That drops early. Let me rewrite that. That drops early. Well, they bloom early, so their bloom is going to be earlier.
That early frost.
That early frost is going to get them every time.
Or late frost, early in the growing season.
That's right. Early in the growing season. I mean, a lot of times we'll get them in turkey season. I mean, it'll be 20-something degrees.
Cold. There's
cold.
always an Easter frost, and there's always something late.
And he just got them. I mean, I don't
hunt over any. But I've just heard from talking to people, a lot of people are planting them over the years just for deer, and they're not doing anything. But aside from that, so we talked about the challenge. So it's those food plots that if you got them in early, you got them. If you happen to have some white oaks, but man, it's the year of the feeder.
Ain't no question.
It's shaping up.
Yeah,
If you're a
that's
bow
right.
hunter,
Yeah.
it seems to be the year of the feeder. And there's that. We talked a lot about that stigma.
Well, you get people, and look, let's take the elephant out of the room.
It's
The
legal.
biologists
It's legal.
and the game wardens, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay, they want to talk about it, spread of diseases, and all that's probably true in some parts. But if your deer ain't got nothing to eat, you ain't gonna have them. Number one,
Yeah.
they gonna leave. And if your neighbor's feeding corn, you better go hunt with him.
Yeah.
You out.
That's right. And that's
I hate to say it, I feed them. I don't beat
Yeah.
around the bush. I can legally feed them, and I feed the crap out of them.
yeah.
But guess what? I got them.
Yeah, and
that's
look,
the
man,
thing,
it's not
that's
even.
all.
So now, if you take, and we'll go down the rabbit trail, and so be it. But, you know, I at times call myself somewhat of a purist, and I don't necessarily like it. But I feed.
Well, you have
So,
to. If
I run cameras, and everybody I know that bow hunts may not be, and I don't always, and I try not to hunt tight to a corn pile or a corn feeder. But you always end up, and I say always, most of the time, you know, if you go on a track and you want to throw out some cameras just to inventory, see what you got. Well, you're going to put a little corn out there around that camera, and you may not set out with the intention of hunting around it, but if you get, if that's where they're coming,
yeah.
I mean, where else you going to hunt?
Human nature.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
well, that's
right.
my spot. I got,
Well,
you know.
if you love hunting and you love deer like we do, and most of the people that listen to this podcast love deer and love hunting, or they wouldn't be listening. You may be against feeding 100%, but if you're trying to grow good deer, and that element is if I keep 2 or 3 live feeders, and you don't hunt one of them, but you just got them in the middle of your place, and I know people do that, but you better have them, because I'm telling you, if your neighbor has 20 acres, 5 acres, you remember the 2-acre spot up, little problems I had. Corn is
It's
was the
undefeated.
ticket. It's undefeated. So, you know what me and Brent's talking about. I had a place and 300-400 acres, and a guy had 2 acres that joined us. Well, he had a feeder and light in the backyard. So one day, we're beat by the. I try to be nice, talk to these guys, and he stops me and says, "Hey man, did you see that big deer's back there?" And I kind of, I'm trying to play the old, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. That's what you always throw at amnesia, deer hunting amnesia.
Yeah.
What big deer? And you kind of reeling him. So he just flips them out on his camera. He had every one I had. He had every deer.
Every deer on 400 acres
400
you've been watching or showing up on 2.
He had them in a backyard over a corn feeder. And I'm going to tell you, that right there makes you think really hard about, man. And we're not going to get into the
yeah, I mean,
rest
it is.
of that story.
The whole
It's just
point
part
of it is that corn it persuades them. It changes them.
it
Like you
changes
can, yeah,
our
they're
pattern.
coming to.
People ask me all the time because they'll see me and they'll say, I'm not saying I'm much of an expert on deer, but for the last 25 years, it's been a big part of my life. Maybe 30 years, probably 30. So I've studied every part of them. And, corn, people tell me, Chris, you think feeding corn makes them move at night? I don't think so, but I know this, you can pattern them with corn.
Yeah.
You can pattern deer. You can make them do things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I say that, let me tell you why. Our deer study we had, Brent, we made them walk in a wooden box that's 4 foot by 6 foot.
Made them do something they shouldn't do.
Yeah, and we caught them.
Yeah.
We caught 255 of them.
Yeah. Now this isn't scientific,
Yeah,
but when
right.
you're putting a free meal out there, you're going to make them. You're making it easy for them. So yeah, they will feed on it a lot at night, but they were going to feed at night anyway. But then in the
Ain't no
day,
question.
also it's still a free meal.
And I'm gonna tell you, you take a year like we got, stressing.
Yep.
And let's just talk about other things that could stress them. Just say that they cut a big tract of timber beside you. Okay, I was on a track today, 150 acres, as good as it gets deer hunting. They just clear cut it. Well, guess what? Those deer have nothing to eat. Deer tracks everywhere, and I thought to myself, those deer were coming through that fresh cut cutover because we're fixing to burn it tomorrow. They're coming through that fresh cut cutover, going to eat some beans that had sprouted after a combine. So, that's a big change for them. Well, guess what? If I'd had a corn feeder sitting in that cutover, I've been feeding them 2 months.
Every one of them.
You'd have every one of them sitting in front of it. Every deer. So is it fair? Is it ethical? I'll let you decide. I'm not going to tell you what.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm trying real hard not to take it because my position doesn't matter on it. But it is what it is. It is legal, and it's like you said, the elephant in the room. It's that thing that, look, you see that hero shot on Facebook, that big deer, early bow season.
Bag.
Yeah. I'm not going.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
everybody's got a cell camera. That cell camera has some encouragement in front of it.
If you're hunting in a hardwood bottom, and there's 27 white oak trees, you're very lucky if he comes eat on the one that you're sitting under.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
When you happen to be there.
I mean, that's just bottom line. You got a feeder right there and a white oak tree, your damn eye just went up.
Yeah, and like the food plots right now. They're on food plots, and dang near every food plot you go look at, it's got a feeder on the end of it.
I was in Alabama most of the week looking at some tracks that up for sale, and those guys in Alabama love to hunt now. I mean, I'm telling you, I'll do a lot of leasing in Alabama.
Roll tide.
But they love deer hunting, and I imagine they like tenderloin biscuits. I'm just gonna say that, but every lane. And this is mostly lease land. So these are hunt clubs. Every lane, every road that I went on had a feeder of some sort.
Yeah.
Or I walked back. Listen, they've got me on camera more this week than I've ever seen in my life. Because, I walked right past
everywhere,
them. Cameras everywhere. You know, so, but look, that's a good game. Those guys have to hunt. They're hunting those roads. They're not coming that road to eat gravel.
That's right.
I mean, you know, so that guy pays his money. He deserves, if the law in Alabama's got a little pretty cool game, you can buy permits for feeders. So if you got so many acres, you want 6 deer feeders, you pay them $25 per feeder. I think you have to send them a pin or a description where they're at. Boom, you're legal.
I know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's pretty sweet. That's pretty smart to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I don't – look, let's just talk about this. I've hunted from Florida line to Wisconsin, Buffalo County, and everything in between. And there's been one common denominator on every place. I'm talking about outfitters. I'm talking about landowners. I'm talking about farmers. I'm talking about somebody in the backyard that's corn.
Yeah, it's not ryegrass.
It's not ryegrass. It's corn. It's look, you can get that at Mississippi Plus, a complete $52 a bag for the food plot seed. I've never seen nobody dump it in front of a camera.
Mm.
You know, so it's just you can do both. It's that tool that we say. But you think about this, Brent.
Look,
you've got several leases. If you got nothing but pine thickets, and I spent a lot of time this week in pine plantations from not being thin. The worst ones are the ones not being thin. And see, we can't get rid of pine pulpwood around here, so a majority of our landowners and listeners that would usually thin their pines in 16, they're 21, 22, 23 years old and they ain't thinned them. So anybody that's in the woods, you walk under a 20-year-old pine plantation that's been thin, you can walk all the way through it and never get a briar on you. So how are you going to keep a deer in there? Was one common denominator.
Yeah. You know, and we joke, we make a reference a lot of times when we're talking about that. The reference is the pine thicket. Well, like one of the leases I picked up this year, it's not a pine thicket. It's a big mature. It's a big stand of pines, but it's
clean as a buck.
It's clean as a pin under there.
Burned.
And there's nothing in
right.
it. There's a couple of old roads, and those old road beds that have some privet and a little bit of cover.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of cover in there, but other than that, you know.
So you're off.
It's a beautiful stand of woods to look at, but it's a desert as far as deer food.
It is, and look, there again, Brent, you've said this, and I lease, 19, 20,000 acres of land for 3 or 4 different landowners. That deer hunter is at the mercy of that landowner, and that landowner is at the mercy, thinning his pines, of the mills and loggers and all this kind of stuff. So, and then a lot of times, timing's never good. Timing's never good when you lease land. I can just tell you.
No.
It may be great. Look, I talked to a guy today, lost his lease. He was upset. Man, I should have, I should have got more. I've had this land for 15 years. They should let me know something. I said, no, they shouldn't. I mean, it's sold.
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's gone. You could have bought it, but you didn't. And
that's not high-hatting. I mean, a lot of people, you can't buy land. Not to imply anybody can buy it. But
if you are hunting on leased land, notice you're on borrowed time. And whether those creams probably do as good as I've ever seen about taking care and managing leased property I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they burn, they fix roads, they feed them, but they shoot them too.
Yeah, they put equipment
hunt.
in there. They do right. They do right.
And but you're a gamble. It's a gamble on what you can do. But like you said before, Brent, that corn feeder's what, $100?
Yeah.
And three sacks of corn. So $130, you in the game.
Yep.
And a cell phone camera. So add another $100.
Yeah, it's not hard to be.
And I mean, look, it's legal. I'm not gonna look down my nose. If I put a sign at my deer plant and said, "We will not take a deer that's been shot over corn." My numbers have
There's
gone.
another sign you're gonna put up there soon.
Yeah,
closed
for business. I mean, if you wouldn't believe that my boys feed corn falls out,
and I'm not hating on it. It is what it is. But it is what it is. But I want to talk about it. That's the thing. You don't really get
about it.
No,
it doesn't bother me
because it discounts in some ways that.
Look, I heard a cool podcast from a pretty sharp guy, and biologist. I'm not going to throw his name out there, but he was talking about acorns, and he said people ooh and ah about acorns, and they have the same nutritional value as corn.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at it. I thought, that ain't right. And then I looked it up. He's 100% right. And I should have knew better. They're both carbohydrates.
Yep.
And they're both very valuable. But you think about acorns you have for maybe 2 months. That corn's at that feed place all year.
Yeah.
And I know people that never stop. Our buddy, good friend of ours has got the place in Tibby. I mean, he feeds them because he takes pictures. He watches them. He watches those deer mature. He watches the horns form, and it's pretty cool. It's
well, look, we got buddies in the business. Seth Cole, and then we got buddies that capitalize on the ag side of it. And it's a market for them.
Let me put it this way. If they would tell you the truth, that is the biggest market in the South, and I imagine North same way.
Yeah, look, I rode to. I went with Hunter. Me and Hunter and a few guys went to Turkeys for Tomorrow event over in Alabama this weekend. And there were 2 or 3 different gas stations in those small towns we're going through.
Had corn sitting in there.
Got stacked up by the gas pumps out there.
I pulled up in Fayette, Alabama the other day.
One of them was in Fayette.
And it's corn.
Yeah.
And I watched a guy go get him 3 bags, put it in the truck. I hope he paid for them. But anyway, he had a roll tide hat, so he probably paid for them.
He's probably all right, fella.
Yeah, he's all right. He didn't have an Auburn hat. But anyway.
Talking about hats, look, I almost feel like a NASCAR racer today because
you look like
one.
I
worked and we've been trying to get together to record a podcast. As we mentioned earlier, it's been crazy, but I had logo from work. I was like, shoot, I don't want to get on there with this, so I swung by H&R Ag. We had never had a sponsor, and I went in there and I said, I got a podcast and I need to buy a shirt. So they sold me a Kubota shirt. And on the way out the door, they gave me a hat, so I guess that's pretty close to a sponsorship.
I can tell you this, and I don't know how many listeners we got, but I guarantee over half of them's got a Kubota tractor. And they plan to food plot with them.
I'm representing.
That ain't no doubt.
I did pay for it, but they gave me the hat, so I guess
call
there's
a Kubota tractor the food plot machine because if you don't use it but only do food plots, it's 100 out of 100. Now, if you use it year round, it's a little tricky, but.
Good for seasonal food plot rig.
It's an easy rig. It's set up. It's pretty cool. Now they do for food plots. Number one, no question. Number one plot. But I don't know. We look at other foods in the fall. Other foods they can eat. You're looking at ragweed. When
it's not a drought.
But it's droughty. It's stemmy. It's hard. So I'm telling you, you're a gambler. Right now, and a lot of clubs, I know there are some clubs out there that we lease to that no corn,
feeding.
no feeding.
Yeah.
They don't do it. No feeding. If you're in those zones,
there's CWD zones.
CWD
Right.
zones. No feeding.
There are places where you can't. Man, that's a challenge. That's tough.
That's a tough deal, and so it's it's tough, but knowing your deer
on a droughty year like this is a tough year, and I guess that's kind of where we start to kind of circle and land the plane. Is there's a lot of considerations, a lot of variables, and it's a tough.
But I think
tough year on
it's
them.
just
tough fall.
Get you some good food plots out there. Fertilizers down a little bit from last year. Fertilizers are down. I always call you co-op so you don't get hung out. But triple 13 last year was $6.35 a ton, $5.44 a ton this year. Okay, ammonium nitrate, which that's what I do. I raise mine. I grow my food plots about a month, and then I'll come in and hit it with about 150 pounds of ammonium nitrate.
You pull soil samples every year, every couple of years.
I don't do it. I don't pull them every couple of years. Probably I should. My neighbor, he pulls them every 5 minutes. But he's a doctor, and he's just real technical about it. But my theory is, I look at the way my plants are growing, and then I'll try to. I don't need a lot of lime where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then you think about my fields that aren't limey, they're sandy. The two fields that aren't, black ground are sand. So really, whatever you put on is going to leach out of that in the black ground. But I'm going to do this year we're going to do a bunch on it. But man, I'm going to tell you honest with you now, the economics of food plots and the economics of deer hunting has been high. Your fertilizer, last year ammonium nitrate was $750 a ton. Got up to $800, okay? Down to $588 now, all right? So triple 13, which that's, people going to get
that's
triple 13.
That's a go-to bag, yeah.
But you think about...
That's I didn't pull a soil sample bag right there.
Right.
I'm getting triple 13.
Right. Yeah. But you think about it, so I'm going to... If you're at great, you want that great 1 acre food plot, that may be all you got. So for every 100 pounds of wheat, oats, whatever you're planting, you need 300 pounds of triple 13. That's the ratio, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Up to 400 pounds. So you can run that thing will run on up there pretty good when you start talking. And this, guys. You can't put $1 on your time. If you do, you done lost. We could.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
You're doing it because you love it.
You do it because you love it. That's bottom line. But I have fed earlier this year than I've ever fed, and it's because they stressed, and not because I got this great deer that I'm trying to chase. I just care about all of them.
Yeah.
And I want all of them. We say that, and I'm gonna shoot 50 of them, but I do care about them, the health of them.
That's right.
And
that's right. That's that paradox of a hunter.
But I'm also thinking about that fawn.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about him stressing, and his mama needs something to eat to get him where he needs to be level.
Yeah, and
that's a thing we never think about.
When you go down another whole rabbit trail is when you, like what you just said, you may shoot 50. Well, times like this, times of stress, and that's one reason to keep that number in check.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah, and we've made the point before is that balance between your resources and the animals. The food and the resources and the mouths.
That's right.
You either got to increase this one or decrease this one.
Yeah.
And so that's where it comes to.
And the perfect thing is if you got it here and here, but there again, leases can't control.
Yeah, small tracks.
You don't control. Yeah, that's right. Everything, and there's never. Let me put it this way: there's never a perfect world. I don't care how many acres you got.
Yeah, all these targets are moving targets.
I got a client's got 3,000 acres of land, one block. It's never a perfect world for him either. It's something all the time.
Yeah.
And it's revolving. But the thing is, if you want good hunting and if you want good deer, you better have good food. And if that food is a food plot, if it's acorns, if it's early successional, or if it's corn out of a bag, pellets out of a bag, that's all fall food. That's what we're trying to get to, and so they don't stress and they don't leave.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. That fall food plot. Yeah. That's killing and holding them.
Killing and holding
them. That summer food plot, that warm season food plot. That's your health. That's your health of your herd. That's quality.
Right.
these fall plots are.
Oh, or kill plots.
Down here. Now,
Down here,
we don't
right.
have that harsh winters. Down here,
That's
it's
right.
basically a kill plot.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
that's a hunt. That's the summer plots are for the deer, and the fall plots are for the deer hunter.
That's it. And really, never clean that table. I love Grant Woods. I watch Grant. You know, some of the stuff I just listen, but he knows deer, and he's always told, and this has been 20 years ago. He said, never clean that table, and I use that on every strategy I do. I use that, never clean that table.
Yeah.
And I like to do double crop and corn feeders and pellets. I've not been a big pellet person, but I've started doing it.
Yeah, you got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
You got to take care of them. I mean, if you're going to hold big numbers, you better reach in that pocket and feed them. Okay, that's the thing. Now, if you don't have big numbers, I think you can get by with a couple feeders and whatever. But it's legal and we can do it.
Yep, a lot of things to consider.
It's good things too. I love to watch them. I mean, I love to see them, and it's time. It's getting time. I tell you what, we woke up yesterday
cool.
morning, 30.
We didn't wake
40
up
degrees.
together now.
No,
Dang, Chris.
Look, I ain't gonna wake up, man, wearing an orange hat. I can promise you. But
the weather shifted a little bit. Got a little north wind.
Yeah.
It's been cool. I've been bow hunting. I had a time to go a couple times. I missed a dang doe the other evening, and I don't know how. I still don't know how. It was just a little further than I thought, and I shot right under.
Well, keep going back.
It happens.
We've had several pretty nice deer at camp.
I'll take
deer processing plant.
I'll take a clean miss over a bad hit any day.
I think they've killed maybe 35, 40
That's
so
pretty
far.
good.
That's
bow
pretty
season.
good. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And it's been hot
for a hot, dry bow season.
Look, it's been hot now. I mean, we're talking about cool weathers, but it's been hot. This whole summer has been hot. And I don't know if
we're getting older.
It is. I don't know. No, it's been hot now. It's hot, and I just don't. I'm anxious to see how these deer responded, how they growed.
Yeah.
The ones I'm anxious to see, because a lot of people aren't showing me a lot of good pictures on their phones, and I usually get them. They usually show me. They can't wait to show me, and I'm not seeing a lot of sure enough good deer so far. Have you?
I was just thinking. I haven't seen.
I've
and
had
I
more
wouldn't out them if I had, but I haven't seen any. I don't know of anybody that's hunting just a toad or a giant. Or I can't think of one right now that took a big jump this year.
Right. And
Just
I'll
the people
tell
I've
you
been talking
this:
to.
we had 4 or 5 target bucks on one of our farms. Okay, we ain't seen them. Now I'm just gonna tell it. We filled the feeders up last Friday. So we're Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 4 days. I have not seen hide or hair of them. In the bean fields, nothing. All 5 of them showed up in the last 5 days.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm.
What they look like?
They don't look great, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm really disappointed, but that's part of it. One of them grew 10 inches, and the one that I thought would explode, and it's not a.
What was he going
difference.
from 4 to 5, 3 to 4? What was he?
He was going from 3 to 4, so I thought that was the Michael Jordan, and he just didn't do it. I don't know. I got to call into Bronson. We're gonna talk, and I just want to strategize because, so I had 4 of them going from 4 to 5. One of them from 3 to 4. We wasn't going to shoot him anyway.
Yeah.
And now I'm shooting the dice. I don't know what to do with any of them. If they didn't, I don't know. I mean, it's just they didn't grow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they had food. So
That's disappointing.
It is
to have
disappointing.
3 5-year-olds that you had high hopes for.
But it goes back to saving Michael Jordan.
Well, so it goes also.
I mean,
it's a little discouragement there, but you still control what you can control.
Yeah,
if you can let 3 4-year-olds go, that's saying a lot.
And they stayed.
Yeah, and they stayed. Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, a big part of them staying is
those
beans,
that feed, and those beans over summer.
Yeah, and cover. But I mean, just and we're not run that 30-30 out the window on them all the time either.
No.
So
anyway.
Right.
Well,
I think that was, we jumped around, but
that's kind of a summary. That's how things are. That's
yeah.
a snapshot of what's been going on with us. There's a lot happening, and it's it's getting to be a fun time of year.
It is.
Starting to bow hunt deer. It's cool weather, like you said.
Look, I had 2 guys down here, and I've got some of y'all probably got them. Some of these fiberglass shooting houses, and I've had mine for about 8 or 9 years. Well, buzzards love to fly on top of them and take a big slam. And dude, if you've ever had buzzard crap, it's bad.
Pretty bad.
It's pretty bad stuff.
Yeah.
So it will peel the paint off anything. And I had guys repainting them this year because they had them slammed all over them.
I've seen them. Yeah.
And y'all know this. Ain't nothing worse than an owl or a buzzard getting shooting house.
I heard somebody say the best way to, it may have been you.
I left the door open.
The best way to keep them out of there is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Leave the door open.
Yes, sir. I did it.
They won't nest in there.
They
Leave
will
it
not
open.
nest.
Yeah.
So I got one that had a window get knocked out, and as an owl get in every time, and I hate you get in there and a little fuzzy, they hiss
Looks like
at you.
E.T.
Yeah, and you just want to just say, say something again, So after you get them out, and the coyote probably nibbled on them all night, but so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna beat this game. I just opened the door.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. They won't go in there. They don't feel safe. It's open to them, and they never.
That's the tip of the day, the woodsman perspective tip of the day.
Yeah.
If you want to keep birds from nesting,
leave the door open.
Nesting and having babies in your shooting house, leave the door open.
Or how about this? Don't be a half-tail Cadillac like me. Go get the damn window.
Oh, yeah,
fixed.
Either leave it closed completely,
fix the damn window. But so anyway, I'm gonna have to go to Lowe's get me some plexiglass. But yeah, that's the game. You open that door up, they will not nest in there because they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
When you close it, they'll catch every rabbit, bird, and you'll be able to identify every little animal that's in that. If anybody's ever got them in there, they know what I'm talking about. And dude, it's awful. It smells like hoon-doon.
You can't get rid of it.
You can't get rid of them. I put my banker in one time. It went in there. He's like, "Damn, man!" And I forgot it was about a foot deep of that old. They rip up every newspaper and magazine.
Oh my goodness! I know what stand you're talking about.
Yeah, shit, they smoked her down, son. But
all right, anyway, we're gonna let it go on that one.
That's it.
All right, we're gonna end with the tip of the month.
We're coming with some more fast, so we're gonna put some out there.
We're gonna do better.
Yep.
Big shout out to H&R for the hat.
Thank y'all.
See y'all.
Bye.